Hello, and welcome to the Metalheads podcast. This is George.
This is Buke.
And this is Jay.
This is episode 33.
Halfway to 66.
Halfway to 66.6. Yeah. Yesterday, Buke and I were at the GWARBQ with our friend Will.
Let's call him Metalheads podcast correspondent in the field.
Yes, Metalheads correspondent in the field, Will. And
Matt. Wasn't his name Matt?
No, Jay.
And you've probably already heard all about that by now, based on our GWARBQ coverage episode. But Buke informs me that he's got a couple of things that he wanted to talk about. So,
one of the things going into it in the weeks leading up, in the months, we saw after last year that GWAR had announced a express ban for the GWARBQ to avoid any of the long lines for beer, bathroom
entrance,
GWAR merch, all that stuff. It was $20 or 19 or something. It would have gone up on the day of the event. And again, after a perfect day that the GWARBQ was, not to talk bad about it, but the express ban ended up kind of being a waste.
It was, and it would have been really helpful last year when you waited in line a long time for everything. It was like 45 minutes for a cheeseburger, half an hour to use the bathroom. It was just, it got to the point where we were just like, forget it. We're not getting any lines because we're going to miss, a whole band trying to get something. So when we saw
how much? Go ahead. Well, I'm curious about the price on it.
It was $19.
Okay.
And
fine.
And so when we saw this, I was like, after last year, fuck, I'm the $19. I'm willing to pay that to avoid that hell. And so then this year, they had their shit together so well, it wasn't necessary. So it was sort of redundant. And to be honest, I didn't see, other than if you went to the GWARBQ merch booth, this is the only place I saw anything that you could use your express band on. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't see anything at the food vendors. Didn't see anything at the rest of the merch booths. I didn't see anything at the bathrooms. So I'm not really sure what that was supposed to be.
But I wanted to add, this is kind of a two-sided thing. Yes, the $20 after last year was a waste, but I think they learned a lesson and they went over and beyond last year.
Yeah. And like we said before, the free water was just
free water.
The free water was awesome.
2 times the food trucks.
Yeah.
Multiple official GWAR booths for merch and stuff.
I think you can assume probably what they did was they recognized the problem, over-organized, and also, but didn't know if the ban would be necessary. Certainly it wasn't that, it seems like a good safety measure. I bet you next year they won't have it if it worked out that well this year. Yeah. There were other merch booths though, huh? Which is cool. Was it just for the other bands or was there record sellers and stuff?
There was indie merch was there.
Oh, cool.
And I didn't look at, some of them I just couldn't tell what they were. Some of them you could tell were bands. Troglodyte was obviously their booth, and Valkyrie was, I think, sharing a booth with them. And there was a Goat Whore booth.
Well organized, time wise, and everything.
Almost too well, because there was no time at all.
Yeah.
It was boom, right on time.
Yeah.
It looked, by the way, I will just throw in my 2 cents, which it looked like a blast. Lots of texts coming from you guys yesterday, lots of tweets going up, which was a very good idea, by the way, just for the podcast and everything. Looked like super fun. That's actually, you know what? Looking back on it, and I knew this going in, but look, this is a great lineup.
Oh yeah,
a lot of good bands.
And usually I'm so anal retentive that I know everything about every band going in, and so there's no surprises.
Yeah.
But I just didn't really have the time to thoroughly explore all the bands that were playing, or I couldn't find something about them. And there are a couple of bands like Gritter was really good.
Okay, checking it out. Never heard of them. I assume it's spelled just like it sounds.
Yep.
Okay.
Critter, but with a G.
Okay.
And somebody else. Maybe it's Mutoid Man, which I already knew about, but they just fucking
Fucking
kicked
came
ass.
out. I'm telling you, they were amazing.
Yeah.
And I believe it. George did a nice short little video of what I'm assuming was the opening track, because that was the opening track from the record.
Yeah.
Great sound, by the way. Well, I told that to George Buke, all the videos he shot, the sound sounded great.
Yeah, it wasn't all distorted, which was nice.
No. And I'm assuming it was pretty good in person. I mean, did you think the sound was pretty good, Buke?
I was up front taking pictures, but they fucking, like I told trying to describe it last night, like a fucking cannon blast.
Right on.
Those guys came out.
Very cool. I mean, the sound seemed good across the board, though, for all the videos, because George put up a little snippet of at least 4 or 5
These
bands.
guys, Mutoid Man, Troglodyte, of course, Down was amazing, but these guys, Valkyrie, amazing yesterday.
Cool. All right, great.
Right
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a good
Amazing.
record,
So,
too.
I wanted to mention that again.
Yeah, we had a bunch of great interviews. So if you haven't listened to that episode, check it out. Buke, set up a bunch of interviews. We talked to Ben from Goat Horror. We talked to Troglodyte. We talked to Tony Foresta from Municipal Waste and Iron Reagan. We talked
George, let me interrupt you there. Who was Jay?
Of course you do.
He was walking around, Jay, enjoying it as we all were.
Nice.
We asked him if we could interview him, and he couldn't have been nicer about it.
Yep.
I think are they from Richmond? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he the singer? I honestly don't know them by
He
name.
is.
Yeah. I think he is like a really super cool guy. I've read some pretty good interviews with him, and I guess I'm about to hear one. So that's cool. Which I only mentioned because the video, even though we will have posted by this point, I haven't heard the coverage yet either, since this is day after. But looking forward to it, guys. I mean, I'm really super excited. You guys talked to some cool people, man.
Yeah, we also talked to Beefcake the Mighty from Gwar.
Cool.
And Buke talked to Mutoid Man and to Valkyrie. So I haven't heard those yet either because I wasn't there for those ones. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, check out our GWARBQ episode.
My favorite 2 pictures of the day are you with Ben, George, and Buke with Phil Anselmo. I mean, just because I know that was like, I figured he was glowing.
Yes. And, today we've got a pretty cool interview going on. You want to talk about that, Jay, before we get into it?
Yeah, one of my... I really think these guys are the preeminent death metal band in the world, I think, and there's a lot out there now that's like technically proficient. So maybe they're not the miles ahead of everybody they used to be, because some of the bands out there are insane now. But Nile, we got Dallas Toler-Wade, and, and I think of him as Nile's secret weapon. He's a lot of people, if you don't know the band really well, that Carl Sanders is the kind of like, he's sort of the face of the band, and he's got like a signature guitar and everything. But Dallas is right there with him, riff for riff. He's a super great guitar player. Seems like a really nice guy, and he's also got a new record out that he's going to be talking about for his band called Narcotic Wasteland, which is really good, by the way.
I liked it too. I was pretty impressed. All right, well, let's get into our interview with Dallas Toler-Wade of Nile and Narcotic Wasteland.
All right, you are listening to Metalheads Podcast. This is Jay.
This is Buke.
This is George.
And we are very happy to be joined today by Dallas Toler-Wade of the mighty Nile and Narcotic Wasteland. Dallas, we can't thank you enough for coming on, man.
Oh man, it's great to be here.
Cool. I can tell you, this is kind of one of those moments for me where, we've been doing the pod for a while. I joined after the other boys, and every once in a while we score an interview we're really proud of, and you're a big deal to me, dude. I think of you as Nile's secret weapon. I think Carl's kind of the face of the band sometimes, but I think of you as like the real fucking deal, dude. Up there keeping it real, the riff master, sing a lot of the lead stuff. Love your stuff, dude.
Thanks.
Well, hey, man, I'm going to jump straight into it because one of the things I really want to talk about is Narcotic Wasteland, which I think is a really great record. And so one of the things I was going to ask you first off about it was how the project came about. I'd love to know if these were friends of yours. Did you kind of recruit these guys, the other members of the band? What can you tell us about it?
Well, it started off as just like some stuff that I was working on just when Nile wasn't busy, and I was like, I'll probably just put it out and do all the instruments myself. But as I continued to write for it, I just really, really wanted to have a band. and it not necessarily be a side project, but be something that I can do when Nile's not busy. And the lead guitarist, Ed Rohn, I've known that guy since I was a teenager, and me and him used to play in bands together back in Fayetteville, North Carolina, my hometown. And we always really clicked, worked really well together, had a great time together. You know, we had the issue that a lot of people have of just trying to find other members that were as serious as we were. So, you know, that kind of morphed into that, you know, and I really miss playing with the guy and working with him, because we did, like I said, we worked so well together. And he recommended Chris, which is also a guy from our hometown, for bass and vocals, and it just kind of clicked. But you can't necessarily find a drummer of that caliber down the street, unfortunately. So George Coleus actually recommended Eric Schultek to do the record, because it was coming to the breaking point. The record actually sat there for a whole year completed before I could find anybody that could, you know, pull the weight on the drum end. So we got up with Eric. He did a great job. He helped us. He pretty much helped. He mixed the record. And did all that stuff, and you know, we did all the tracking in my studio for all the other instruments. And yeah, you know, we're trying to in the future get some shows and stuff going on. Right now, it hasn't had like a whole lot of the response has been really good, but we don't really have the buzz isn't big enough to justify going out and trying to do like a tour or anything yet, and that's fine, you know. I hope to like do some of these festivals. There's a lot more of these festivals popping up in the U.S., so it'd be great to get on a few of those. You know what I mean?
I do, and I'd love to see you guys live, man. I mean, it's interesting to me that you've known the other guitar player for so long, because it is so tight. And actually, I kind of want to mention one other thing, which is I think the production on it is exemplary. You know,
thanks.
Yeah, it's sharp and clear and just in your face. It really sounds great, and so I can fully see where you're coming from. Like you say, you got a little buzz going, but I think when people really, really hear the record, if it gets on the right places, you're going to have a following big time with this band, man, because it's just something special.
Yeah, I heard this first time just a couple days ago when Jay was telling me about it, and first listen through, I was hooked. It's a great album.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you dig it. A lot of emotion went into putting all that together.
You know, I would like to talk about that very thing, if you don't mind, because I'll be honest with you, you sound pretty fucking pissed off on this record, man. And I'd like to know some of the driving, you know, stories, if I may, behind it. I know you said you lost some friends to hard drugs and things like that. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's been happening on and off, you know, with friends over the years. You know, all of a sudden I find out that someone's passed away. And, you know, back in the day, I used to party pretty hard myself. But I never got into like the pills and the heroin or anything like that. It was mostly just beer and pot and acid.
Yeah.
You know, which, you know, now it's just beer. But, you know.
Wasn't that also known as the Grateful Dead way of life?
Probably. I don't know.
You should have been a dead. You should have been a deadhead.
We used to get the SID from there, but yeah. Yeah, you know, it was just something that really started to drive me. And then the second song that was written for the record was Absent Friends, which is the last track on the record. And that song is actually about a girl that I was kind of dating for a while that ended up overdosing. And that was very hard for me to deal with. But there were also other things, like the title track, Widespread Narcotic Wasteland. When I say that there was a bullet hole in my son's bedroom wall, there actually was.
Wow.
Jesus.
And he was with me that day, luckily. And stuff like that. So there is a lot of angst and aggression and just overall disappointment, I think, in people allowing themselves to just get that way. But, you know, it doesn't make a person a bad person to be an addict. It's a disease. It's something that people just have. Some people just shouldn't drink, or some people shouldn't do any of that stuff. You know,
and also, Dallas, they also come in many different forms too. People have a disease. That's why you have hoarders, That's why you have people with eating diseases. That's why you have OCD people. You have all different type. Unfortunately, with some people, they get hooked on it, and the allure of that feeling good for, a little bit takes over, and you're overdosing on something tragically.
Yeah, some people can do moderation. You can have one drink and you're good, and other people, there's just no stopping.
This kind of leads me into one of the questions I wanted to ask you at the start. We're talking about, I love the honesty. It's, some artists and stuff that we've talked to a bunch. It seem like they're a little guarded with some things. Nile, it's pretty well known that all your guys' lyrical themes and a lot of the albums have this, Egyptian kind of type of theme with them. Was it kind of refreshing and was making this new project? Was that the only way you could start to do albums and songs like this? Because it was never going to work
to branch out.
Nile?
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot. I practice a lot. I have a setup here where if I get an idea, I can just lay it down like that. And not everything that I think of will work with Nile. Not to mention the fact that the tuning for Narcotic is D sharp standard, so it's only a half step off of standard E. Nile's way down in A, and while I love to play with that super deep, heavy kind of death metal tone, I'm really more of a thrashy kind of punk. I'm really into like crossover, like DRI. There's a band actually called Birth AD out of Austin, Texas. I don't know if you heard of those guys. Pretty fucking killer. So yeah, it is something that I just I wanted to do something a little different. And, I think Carl did the same thing too with the Saurian meditation thing. It's kind of like the other elements. So it's still definitely Carl, and it's definitely got the Nile thing to it, but it was sometimes it breathes new life into whatever it is you're doing to just branch off and try some different stuff. And I just feel like, I've been playing music for coming up on about 30 years now. And I feel like I got a lot of stuff left, a lot of ideas and stuff that I want to do, particularly with the Narcotic and with the music and songs that I contribute to the Nile list. And
wow, cool! That was awesome. You just said nihilist.
I know. I was thinking that too.
Sweet. I got to tell you, it's cool that you described it the way you did, Dallas, because it is almost like a crossover record. Because it's such socially conscious lyrics that it's got a kind of punk avenue to it a little bit. And that's to me that brings in this little extra artistic curve that I really dig. I'm going to keep turning this interview into me praising you, but it's really cool. That works. It's really working on the record. So
that's
cool stuff,
man. A lot of people, not a lot of people. Some people really did get the lyrics. Some people thought the lyrics on the Narcotic record were terrible. And my argument to that was, well, what constitutes? I'm not writing poetry here. It needs to be straightforward. I wasn't trying, because there's a lot of bands out there in the death metal category or extreme metal category or whatever. In the metal category, they have a bunch of thesaurus words put together that don't mean shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be really straight. And, if one day you're going to drown in your vomit and die, there you go. Perfect. That's great.
I feel like I know. I feel like I know what you're trying to tell us on the record, and that's it. It works, man. Hey, you just kind of mentioned that band from Texas. I wanted to ask you kind of what are the bands that you like these days, and I'd also like to know like what are the bands that kind of got you going as a kid too. Who are some of the people you love?
Well, when I was growing up, I started out on the drums, and so as soon as I discovered Rush, that was pretty much probably all I listened to for like 2 years.
Right.
But of course, all the usual suspects: Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, Rush, Yes, all the stuff, early Alice Cooper stuff. Actually, the stuff that my mom was listening to.
Right on.
She grew up as kind of a rocker too, so that was kind of stuff she was listening to. I remember returning the favor later by turning her on to Rush. She'd never heard of them, so big Rush fans. And then of course the we had an AM radio station I used to listen to, and I think that was the first time I heard Slayer.
On AM radio.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Rock 1450. Yeah, and they had them, and they were playing like that, and like Metallica and all that stuff, and so I started getting more into that, and I was big into Van Halen too, but not really a guitarist yet. But I think the band that really wanted me to made me want to play guitar, I think was probably that first Metal Church record when I was about 13 or 14.
We were just talking about that album.
Just talking about it.
I love that. I was just specifically talking about the track Battalions. Fucking love that song.
Yeah, I think my favorite one is probably the first one on the record, Beyond the Black.
That's really good too.
When we played, Nile played 70,000 Tons of Metal a few years back, and Metal Church was on that, and they played the whole first album in its entirety.
Wow.
Sweet. I'd love to know how that experience was, that 70,000 tons of metal, since you brought it up.
Oh, it was great. I mean, what I remember of it, we were
having a good time.
My bar bill was ridiculous.
It was 70,000 tons in fucking beer.
70,000 tons of liquor.
Yeah, we had a good time, man. We had a good time. The strange thing was when I got home finally, and everything was still kind of moving.
Does it get any better, though, than not having to drive, not even being able to go anywhere because you're on a fucking boat? The worst that can happen is what? You fall overboard. I guess there's,
Which is pretty bad, mind you. But
another highlight at that show, which was also another early influence of mine, was particularly on guitar, was Flotsam and Jetsam.
Love them, too.
Also fans here. We're all fans, too.
Hey, what's your favorite Flotsam album?
Dallas, we were just talking about this.
Hey, shut
Why
up.
do you think ever since No Place came out, they've kind of lost their way?
I don't know, man. I think Quattro's pretty good, but I'm still, my favorite's that first one, man. Maybe it was just because it was the first one I heard, and I was so young and impressionable, particularly on the guitar at that time. And I just loved I love the tone of the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I first heard Hammerhead on the Metal Shop radio show back in the day. It was like every Sunday night at like 10 o'clock at night, they'd play metal for an hour, and each week they'd play, have like a new release. They'd play a new song, and that was my first time hearing Flotsam was when they played Hammerhead.
They're putting together their new record right now. We were just talking about that recently, so we're all interested to see what they're going to do on the next one.
Oh, yeah. And those guys are so good live. I mean, wow, they're super tight. And the dude still got the voice, too, man.
Yeah, we saw them just like maybe 2 years ago, and they sounded great.
Yeah. Super fun.
I had the good fortune to see you guys on the last tour, Dallas, where you did the sort of basically what I would call an evening with Nile. You did 2 big long sets, something off every record. What is it like after a night like that, man? I mean, you guys were up there for a long time, and is it physically demanding to play the guitar live in that fashion?
I probably like the first week. I was probably feeling it a little bit, but luckily the second set was more the older material, which we've been playing for so long, and some of it's not quite as fast as some of the new stuff. So
yeah,
it felt kind of like a break on the second set.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, we're over the hump, so let's grab a beer and give them some Blessed Dead. You know what I mean? And
you had a big smile on your face, man. By the way, you really looked just happy to be up there. I saw you in San Francisco. That's where I live out here, and you just looked like you're having a great time.
Good
old Sims, right?
Yeah, Slims. Yeah, that's a good place to see a show.
Speaking about looks, speaking about looks. And about looking good on stage. Dallas, I mean this with the most respect. I'm not poking fun. When did you realize the hair and the Devin Townsend look was a losing battle?
Well, for me,
I remember when I saw a picture of you with the shaved head, I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah. I had actually shaved my head years ago when I was like in my late teens, early 20s. So it's not anything new, really, to me. It's one extra step that you have to take care of when you're on the road and all that stuff. And I'm looking to streamline my life.
Yeah.
I'm not trying the fucking deal with staring in the mirror with my hair all day long.
I will admit, you guys on stage looked fucking badass, whipping it all around.
Sure. Yeah,
So we're kind of talking about Nile here, and I got to tell you, we're in a very fortunate position because we have this little program, and so we get promos before they come out. So we've heard and got the new Nile record, which I also want you to know, though I firm belief in financially supporting bands, so I also pre-ordered it on vinyl. It's devastatingly great, super heavy, super good record. I got a first question to ask you about it is, I read an interview with George, and he said it has the hardest Nile song he's ever played on it, and I'll be fucked if I can guess which one it is. But do you know what he was talking about?
It's probably the fill work that's in the title track.
Okay.
That's probably the lick I think I know the lick he's talking about. It's some kind of shuffly quad thing, and the overall. There's a lot of changes in some of the songs, and so that can be pretty challenging. I know for me personally, songs like "Call to Destruction," "Evil to Cast Out Evil," those are going to be definite songs we'll end up playing live. And "Call to Destruction" for me, singing and playing at the same time will probably be one of the most difficult things I've ever done.
Actually, boy, Dallas, you really you keep hitting on the questions I want to ask, and that's great, because one of them is I do play and sing. I'm in a band myself. We're not Nile, mind you, but one of the most challenging things is to play and sing at the same time. And I'm not joking, dude. There's nobody else in metal that I can think of that I look at and I think, how the fuck does he do that? Because you guys' stuff is so all over the map. It's startling. So it's interesting to hear that there are some challenges for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And my like most straight path to success with that is to get so comfortable and familiar with the guitar playing, to where that's really a second nature kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then just read along, because what will end up happening is, especially if it's been a while, if you're bringing back an old song, you'll have like the lyrics there. I'll duct tape them to the wall of the rehearsal room. So then at that point, I'm reading, singing, and playing at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it just takes it's just repetition, man, to get that muscle memory going and getting just familiarized with the song. And then what ends up happening is the singing and the playing becomes one full expression.
Yeah,
and
right on.
That's really impressive. As someone that used to fancy himself being able to do both singing and playing, I was never able to do them at the same time. As soon as I say one word, my hands just
off on their own.
Yeah, I've never been able to do those two independent thoughts at the same time. So that's truly like mind blowing that people can do that.
Talking about the new record too, I feel like it's got a little bit raw, a slightly more raw production quality to, in a good way. Something I'm really enjoying the new record. I want to let you know, I think "Call to Destruction" would be a great song to open with on fucking tour, because that's a fucking killer opening track. What are your feelings about the record? How are you liking it now as you're getting to finally listen to it?
I really enjoy it. I think we achieved exactly what we wanted. A lot of people didn't really like the sounds of Sethu. What we were going for was kind of a thrashy but super clean sound. And we discovered, well, the super surgical, squeaky clean thing doesn't really work for this band. It just, as tight and as fucking crazy as that record is, it's just too clean. And but you can't, there's two things. You don't want to put out the same record every time, and you want to try different things and experiment. So we did that. So we came back to this, and we were just like, well, we were kind of missing that big wall of Nile guitar, and I think some of the fans were missing it too. So we gave them the wall again. We gave them the secret signal path, the secret Nile ingredient, once again, got fired up. And it came out beautiful. Me and Carl worked really hard on it, very closely every day, dialing in the tone and all that. And another thing that we wanted to make damn sure this time is that there was some bass guitar on this fucking record.
There
is bass guitar on the record.
Absolutely. And the production style to me sounds like maybe somewhere mixed between Annihilation of the Wicked and maybe something a little bit, one of your slightly more darker records like maybe Black Seeds of Vengeance. It's like you mash those two together production-wise to me. I mean, it works, man. And it's not, I have a medium grade stereo in my car, and it's just punishing in my car. Sounds great.
Good. Yeah, because, when you're listening to stuff, and you're trying to make critical decisions about it, it's good to listen to it on different speakers that you know what they're supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
So if it's crushing in the car, then hell yeah, mission accomplished. Because I think a lot of people mostly listen to stuff in the car nowadays anyways. I think the days of the audiophile and the 15-inch Serwin Vegas in the home stereo system are kind of over, unfortunately.
Yeah, first off, not for us here. But
but you're right.
500 vinyl records over my shoulder here. Not for us. Yeah. But hey, man, if I'm asking you, one of the things that shines through about you guys always is you and Carl seem to have a very close friendship. That it really shines through. That a lot of these other bands, I know we're just talking to you right now, but it seems like a lot of the bands that we talk to, or we being the public see, it's separate entities always. And you and Carl seem like you guys could be fucking brothers, and it comes off. And I wanted to credit you guys and ask you, what do you attribute that to?
Well, we're like-minded for one. I mean, we want to do the same things and accomplish the same things, and we've been through hell and back.
Yeah. I was just about to say, I'm sure at times you're like, Carl, I hate you.
Yeah. Well, actually, we very rarely had anything like that. And when we do, if there's a misunderstanding or something like that, we just talk about it. There are people out there that will bottle some shit up and never say anything. And I've never been that guy. I tell you like it is to your face. And, and Carl's kind of the same way. And, we usually end up having problems with other people.
Right. Yeah.
We're a team, man. We're here for the band. We're not here for any individual gain. We want to move forward and look out for each other, man. We're both family men, and we depend on each other to be there. And we always have great conversations on the phones, and the chemistry live is always a lot of fun. And
it's probably safe to assume when you said, "Hey, I'm going to do this album," from what you just said, Carl's like, "Okay, probably fucking do it, man."
The Narcotic Wasteland you're talking about?
Yeah. I remember playing the demos for him one night. I was over there. Well, I think this was probably right at the end of the Sethu sessions or whatever. I remember playing him some of the demos or whatever. He seemed to really dig it. And the guys have been totally supportive about all that, So
I like his solo records are really good too. By the way, you mentioned them a while back there. He astonishes me with his sort of Eastern, knowledge of Eastern scales and so on and so forth. It's almost bizarre. It's like, he was sort of born at the wrong time. You know what I mean? Like I read in an interview recently that he'd been invited once to go to a college and talk about Egyptology, but that he turned it down because he thought he'd just be the metal oddity in the room, So he was sort of like, fuck those guys. But yeah, I mean, his knowledge is pretty startling towards that stuff. I'm kind of still on the Nile trip here. I want to ask you, do you have a favorite Nile record, Dallas?
Oh, wow. That would be a tough one. But Annihilation has always really stuck out for me.
That's my favorite. All right. Yeah. Well, we have that in common then. I also want to point out. Go ahead.
Jamie, may I ask a follow-up to that?
Please.
With it being so hard for bands to catch on and get some traction in this day and age, to be a extreme band, which you guys are, when you have seen success and a name in the metal world is almost a household name, when did you start to realize, like, hey, man, there's something here to this? Was it around maybe In Their Darkened Shrines? Was it around Annihilation?
Well, Shrines is when things really started to take off for us. That was the record that kind of broke through, to our surprise, because you know, when I joined Nile, and by the time Carl and Pete and Chief were doing Nile, pretty much all of us had given up on like going on tour and trying to actually do it. We didn't give a damn anymore about that. And then, of course, that's when things start to happen. We just kind of abandon everything. But like, yeah. So, you know, we got those Morbid Angel tours on the first record. That was a big help to us. And then Black Seeds came out. It was really well received. We got to do another trip to Europe. And then when Shrines came out, I don't know, something definitely broke. Yeah. Because the next thing you know, we're headlining. We sold out the Key Club and LA on that tour. I remember the only other band that had, I think maybe even to this day, had that amount of attendance or beat our attendance was Meshuggah. But I don't know that for sure. That was a long time ago.
I've never heard of that band.
You know, I think Shrines was the one that definitely broke through, and then Annihilation was a really successful time as well, and it's been pretty consistent since then. No like lulls or downs or even further ups or anything like that. It's just kind of a steady burn.
Well, I think your followers are kind of like Slayer followers. It's sort of like I once heard somebody say about Slayer, you never hear anybody say, yeah, I was kind of into them for a summer. You know what I mean? Like once you're a Nile fan, you're kind of dyed in the wool after that. Yeah,
I could see that. Definitely seen. That's one of the things that, you know, you're making an impression when somebody walks up and they have Nile tattoos on them.
Yeah.
Dallas, you just mentioned them going on tour. Have you read into any of this drama going on with Morbid Angel now?
Not really. I've heard a few things because we have the same manager and we use some of the same crew, but I haven't really heard much about it. I've heard that Trey fired everybody.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, Dallas, like for all we know, like someone could come out like things were so fluid and volatile for a couple of days. Like it could have been announced like you were the next guy for Morbid. Like they can like
it was pretty much everybody coming out and going, either I am in the band or I am not in the band. Whether you're in the band or not, you know, it's just a guessing game of who is in Morbid Angel today.
That's kind of crazy, man. You know, I have no idea what the hell's going on in that camp, but I wish them the best. I remember reading something from Tucker. Somebody was saying, is David and Tucker going to be jamming together? And Tucker said something like, no, I play death metal or some shit like that. I was like, wow. But, you know, I like to hear information.
It's frustrating for us too, because, you know, obviously we're all fans, man, and we are fans that obsessively read liner notes and shit, you know, and so we need information too. You know what I mean? Like I got to know when's the tour starting, what's happening, and I like to hear in-depth interviews and so on and so forth. You know, not unlike our show.
But
you know,
so much internet stuff being out there, Jay and Dallas. It seems like a lot of websites and stuff now to put out that hey, Nile's going on tour. That's almost. Yeah, we're going to put it out, but that's kind of boring. But if Dallas, if they have video of you punching Carl, fucking it's plastered all over 30 sites.
It's tabloid.
That's what people really think they care about.
It's tabloid stuff, man.
You'd think metal would be above that.
Yeah, you think metal would be above that.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, guys? I'm going to take a moment here because I want to steer us a little bit back towards Narcotic Wasteland, but I also want Dallas to let us know what is the first song we should play off of this. We're going to play 2 songs on our show here today, and you got one in mind that we could plug in here, Dallas? And can you say something about the particular title?
Yeah, it's going to be Addicted to Junk, and the reasoning behind this is because it's one of my favorite songs on the record, but all of the stuff that I've seen, nobody's really said much about it for whatever reason, and Ed Rohn, the lead guitarist, wrote the music for the song. I wrote the lyrics, and it's one of my favorites. It's the fastest track on the record, and it's just got a lot of guitar sorcery, and it's got a really kind of heavy, nasty thing. You almost want to, like, I don't know, take a bath or something after you listen to it, because it's just the lyrics and everything. It's got this like kind of slithery, sleazy feeling, dirty heroin needle kind of feel to it, you know.
That's about the best intro we could ask for. So without further ado, here is Addicted to Junk. All right, that was Addicted to Junk from Narcotic Wasteland's first record. I'm hoping there's going to be a second one. It's one of the things I want to ask you about, Dallas. Got any plans for the future here with this band?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm about 5 songs into the new one already. And it'll just be a matter of having the time to finish up a few more songs and then track it and put it out.
Awesome, man. And then you already sort of mentioned it, but I'm really hoping we're going to see a possibility for some tour dates with this group. I'd love to see you guys live, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed about that one.
Me too.
Right on. Hey, I wanted to ask you about a particular track on the record, if that's all right. It has an interesting title, and it's called Coastal Killings. Is that kind of based on some actual factual things? I mean, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of the, lyrically, it's kind of the oddball out on the record. It's about South Carolina's most famous serial killer, Donald Henry Pee Wee Gaskins.
Oh, man. He was doomed from the start. He had to be a serial killer.
Oh, yeah, and he was a little guy. But I read the book. It's called The Final Truth, and it's basically someone that basically recorded him talking about everything that he had done and made a book out of it. And as soon as you open it up and start reading it, it's like by the time you start reading this, I'll already be pretty much fried in the electric chair or whatever. But he was one of the worst serial killers that I know about. There's some stuff that I don't even want to mention that he did that's so horrible. But he also was into extortion and chopping cars and burning down barns for insurance money and shit like that. He was into all that kind of stuff, but he was also had this, he would get this feeling in his stomach and he had to kill. And that happened right out near Myrtle Beach or Sumter, South Carolina.
Damn.
And I found it really interesting, and it is kind of a departure from what the other songs are talking about. But at the same time, I've said this in a Nile interview. Somebody said to me one time, so are you guys ever going to run out of material, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing? Are you just going to get bored with it? Well, first off, there's thousands of years of history there that you can pick from. But, we don't necessarily have to write songs about Egypt if we don't want to. I mean,
Iron Maiden, you have to, or else the internet would fucking explode. Do you realize what you would do?
Always write songs about Iron Maidens,
Yeah, right.
But could you imagine the headlines if it was announced tomorrow the next Nile album was about Paris, France history? Fucking the internets would explode.
Actually, I kind of want to hear that all of a sudden, though.
I
got one question, George. I just got to sneak in, though, which is that sound bite at the beginning of Coastal Killings. Is that him?
Yes, it is him. There was a show on Investigation Discovery called Twisted, and it was all about these documentaries about serial killers. And he was the first one. He was the first show. And I took those straight from the show.
It works. Hey, it's so spooky because of just the kind of business-like way he's talking about it, man. It works. It works really well as an intro to that track.
Yeah, and what he's talking about is the last person that he killed, he was already on death row. But the person that was in line to be in the electric chair in front of the guy, he had robbed a convenience store and shot this dude's parents all up that they own the store, and the guy was trying to hire Gaskins to kill him. So he snuck in the makings of a bomb and told the prisoner that if I run this wire up through the wall, we can talk to each other, and we can have walkie-talkies, and we can talk to each other while we're in our cells.
Wow.
And as soon as he put that thing up to his head and said, "Can you hear me now?" Boom! He blew his fucking head off.
Holy shit.
While he was on death row. He killed somebody while he was on death row. That's how fucking evil this guy was.
That's messed up.
And I don't know where anybody stands. I still don't know where I stand about the death penalty, to be honest with you. There's a lot of controversy. There always has been around it. But if you don't believe in it, he'll make you want to believe in it.
George, I totally interrupted you. It looked like you had a burning question there.
Well, it wasn't burning, but the moment sort of passed. It was when you were talking about, Nile doesn't have to write about Egyptian themes. I was curious if when the songwriting process happens, and do you ever come across Egyptian terms and you're like, how the fuck do I say this? Because I know I feel like I read a lot and I can say words, unlike Buke here. Has a little trouble with that. Do you ever go, what the hell is this Egyptian word? Because I know, going through the songs and some of the lyrics, you just come across a word and you go, well, it's obviously Egyptian because I cannot say this.
Yeah, we take our best guess at it, and and sometimes I'll ask Carl, like, do you have any suggestions on how exactly this needs to be pronounced? And he's like, well, shit, man, who knows if anybody's even said that thing in 1,000 years? And
Good point.
Pretty much whatever best guess you can make is what it's got to be, because we don't know, and we there's no way to actually know how some of that was said.
That does take a little bit of the pressure off when there's not going to be some pharaoh stepping up and going, excuse me, you said that wrong.
Yeah, no witnesses.
Yeah. So we try to get it as accurately as possible, and some of that stuff is pretty tricky, and it can be a tongue twister to get right, and then after a while you just get used to it, and then it works. But yeah, we definitely, especially on some of the earlier records, it was like, what the hell is this? It's like a bunch of abbreviations and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was hoping we could just briefly, I'd love for you to plug it, but also just kind of want to know what your touring plans are coming up. I know when we were trying to set the time up for this, I told George, well, maybe we could do something in September. And George said, no, he's in France. So I know you're going to France. What else you guys got coming up?
Well, we're leaving on the 25th to do a European tour with Suffocation. And the first day is going to be in Warsaw, Poland, and it's going to be called the Massive Fest. The touring company that we use over there, Massive Music, they're celebrating their 25-year anniversary, I think. And so Marduk's going to be at that show. I think Vader's going to be at that show, and us and Suffocation. But yeah, it's our European tour. We leave out on the 25th, and I'll be back on like the 28th of September. And I think there's one day off. Rock and roll, right?
That's rough, dude.
Rock and roll.
That's
like,
the way
really,
Can I ask you this, brother? I saw a video the other day of you guys playing Bloodstock in 2012. And I've seen clips of you guys playing Wacken in the past. How is it playing these huge festivals for all these people?
It's a lot of fun. With faster music, it doesn't seem to translate as well, in my opinion. I think real fast music belongs in a small club, so you can hear the details. Out there, it's great. You get to connect with a lot of people and all that, and of course, some of the slower stuff really hooks well live in a big open setting like that. I love the big festivals. I love the atmosphere of the big festivals. As far as the sound quality, I'd prefer to play a shitty dive.
That's why you love Jack so much.
They had a great system in that place.
Yeah, well, it's gone now. I think it was better on stage. Yeah. Better on stage than in the crowd, these boys tell me.
Depended on the show.
Well, that sounds great. You guys, I want to kind of really be respectful of Dallas's time here. So have you guys got any kind of like questions you want to close up with or anything like that?
I'm good.
Buke?
I have nothing. I will
defer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to kind of say, so you got that. You got you've got American tour coming up, I assume, sometime shortly thereafter, Dallas?
Yep. We'll be going to, actually, we got Australia and China for November. And I think we're home until January, February. And then that's when the American tour happens.
Cool. I'll be out front. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else coming down the pike that you'd like people to know about? I mean, that's plenty.
No, man, that's pretty much what's going on.
Hey, I got a suggestion for a business proposition for you, and I don't mean between you and me. I mean so I can buy it, and it's I need a guitar instructional DVD from you, dude. Love to see you do that.
That's cool. I was thinking about I need to upgrade some of my equipment. I'm kind of still in the last century with my recording gear. I love the way the old stuff sounds, but I need to kind of ramp it up. But I was thinking about I've been getting some questions about some of the solo work that I've done on various things, and I was thinking about just maybe throwing up a YouTube channel and breaking down a few of the solos or whatever, because there actually has been some interest for that, and I just got to get the time to put something together that I could actually put something together with some quality.
Yeah, you'd get some followers, dude. Because
For those who want to follow you, Dallas, what's the best way they can reach out to you?
Facebook.
Well, I got the Facebook thing going on. That's fine. I need to go ahead and make an official page. I've always been. I'm very recluse. I'm kind of a private person. All that stuff is kind of freaking me out at first. But yeah, check me out on Facebook. I'm definitely there. You can check out the Nile website. You can check out the Narcotic Wasteland website. And that's a good way to get in contact with me.
Cool. I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. This is like kind of a high point of my podcasting life, really. I'm a big fan of yours, big fan of Nile. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you, guys.
All right, well, that was our interview with Dallas Toler-Wade. So happy that he came on. Honestly, kind of a little hero of mine, underground hero of mine, so couldn't be more thrilled. That was one of my... We got a short thing we'll be talking about later in the episode, and he's one of my little would like to interview guys. So it's a little feather in my cap.
Jay, I don't know if we could ever do a top 3 of Nile because I'm not a fan. I'm not versed in them like you are. Could you do maybe your own, put you on the spot, maybe a top 3 of their albums?
Yeah, definitely, man. In Their Darkened Shrines, Annihilation of the Wicked. That's my favorite one. Annihilation of the Wicked. And but I always have these really long titles, and I had
their last album,
Black Seeds of Vengeance. One called Black Seeds of Vengeance, and the new one is really good. By the way, it's outstanding.
Yeah,
and make sure to stick around to the end of the episode where we will play you another song from Narcotic Wasteland.
Yeah, which, by the way, I think one of the primary differences is that the songs are a little shorter in Narcotic Wasteland, a little more to the point. He's definitely talking about more socially conscious stuff, as we talked about in the interview.
So a couple days ago, Iron Maiden premiered the first song off of their forthcoming new album, The Book of Souls. And to put it mildly...
Jay loves it.
To put it mildly, it has created a civil war among the Metalheads podcast. And so we are about to enter the Iron Maiden death match.
3 will go in, only 1 will come out.
Only 2 will come out. So,
you got. I think I will say this. I think your reaction was more visceral than mine, so I want you to talk about it first.
All right. Iron Maiden, speed of sound. in a word, bullshit.
Oh, that hurts.
In a few more words, as you may have heard from Will, Will said it sounded like a 70s Kiss song.
Oh.
And he's right. It definitely has a 70s vibe to it, which they may have existed in the 70s, but they did not release any albums in the 70s, and so therefore they have... There's no reason why they should... Iron Maiden has never sounded like a 70s band.
Actually, Roundhouse Tapes might have come out in 79, but
the official albums.
Yeah, fair enough.
But even then, they sounded like new wave of British heavy metal.
I have to tell you, the funny thing is I like almost everything you guys dislike about it. That's the irony. I feel like they're doing something a little different. I think it is heavy though, and I think I recognize that the riff is not a big chugga-da-boom, 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 kind of like a trotting trooper riff.
Right.
And I hear you. I hear you what you're saying. It's not necessarily a signature thing. I think what it reminds me of a little bit is some of Bruce's solo stuff, in all honesty.
And that's exactly the same thing that I don't like about some of Bruce's solo stuff. He has some good solo stuff. I'm not knocking it all. But that was always a complaint of mine with his solo stuff, was that it just wasn't particularly hooky. There was nothing that, like Ghost of the Navigator. That song gets so stuck in my head. It's got a groove, and
the fucking Wicker Man.
The Ghost of Navigators. It just fucking gets in your head, and
it actually reminds me of that song a little bit.
But it doesn't, because it's so even all the way across. They're playing the music, and it doesn't have any like, I don't know, like a time change or a a rhythmic meter change. I don't know the right terminology, but
Yeah.
it just stays the same all the way through.
But I feel like, and feel free to crucify me on this, but I feel like I have a parallel from their past. And I have to tell you that when this record came out, I wasn't thrilled about the single, and it's 2 Minutes to Midnight. And because it's a similar kind of riff. It's not a big, it's not a big chunky trotting riff. And I mean, and I'm not saying it necessarily reminds me of that song. I just remember when that came out, I was like, well, this is kind of radio friendly or something like that, at the time. And I realized that's not necessarily what you guys think of the new song, that it's radio friendly. But I also think it's kind of...
If it was radio friendly, I'd be okay. I mean, probably their their two most radio friendly songs, Can I Play with Madness and Wasted Years.
Yeah, fair enough.
I love both of those songs, because it gets stuck in your head. Can I play with madness? It gets in there and it rattles around in your brain.
This one is kind of stuck in my head, though, man. I swear to God, the chorus, da 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 da, ba da 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 da, dude, it's pretty slick, man. But I will say that and the truth is we weren't really going to kind of decide this matter, because the truth is you guys don't like it and I do. But here's the other point, and George and I were kind of arguing this one back and forth, which is I think it's a good sign for the record, because I think the record's going to kind of be not experimental, but I think it's going to go to some different places.
Given Bruce's tendency to write songs that don't have hooks, this 18-minute song could be unbearable.
Actually, did you read they talked about the song a little bit in a online news story, and actually I am a little worried about that song now, though, because it sounds like I have to admit I didn't read the whole article, but it sounds like it's primarily based on piano. But it might be that Bruce was beating it out on the piano, and that was how he taught it to him. I don't know. Maybe I read the article. I should have read that a little more closely before I quoted it. But I have to tell you, actually, I walked away from the article feeling like, oh. But I love it. I honestly think it's a good song. I think it's a little adventurous for them. I don't think it says that the whole record's going to kind of not be like kind of more in the Iron Maiden thing. And so what I'm waiting to see is if in the continuity of the record itself, if it turns out to be a great record, if you guys don't come around on that song a little bit, we'll see. And I mean, if you just hate it, you hate it, and that's all there is to it, or really dislike it.
It's just really bland.
Yeah.
And so I would love to then get the album and be like, oh, the rest of it's awesome though.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because I honestly think it's just one man's junk is another man's treasure. That's what we're dealing with here, because it actually works for me, because it's kind of dissonant. It's kind of in a weird minor key at the chorus, which is a weird choice, and at least the vocal parts are.
Treasure my junk, Jay. Treasure my junk.
I do.
No, Jay. When I was listening to it, I have when George and I did a top 3 Maiden list, Brave New World. I think it was 2 or 3 on my favorite
great.
Iron Maiden albums. They had a couple missteps after that, in my opinion, with Dance of Death and A Matter of Life and Death. There were a couple of songs on each of those albums, maybe one on Dance of Life and Death that I liked.
I didn't like that record at all.
Final Frontier, when that came out, I was like, man, this El Dorado at the start, Mother of Mercy, Coming Home, The Alchemist, they were pretty cool, catchy songs. And then after 4 years, this comes out and we hear the song, and the first thing I told George is that they sound old, and we're only hearing Bruce, but it just sounds old.
That's actually a point that I'll take, and I'm not going to kind of even go against you on that. And so there might be some part in my kind of accepting or not accepting of this that allows for the step they will have lost just due to the passage of time. You know what I mean? Like I understand. It's like that Black Sabbath reunion record. It was good. Don't get me wrong, but go back and compare it to like the way Ozzy was singing on like Snowblind, and it's a whole different thing. You know what I mean? Like it really is.
I understand that Bruce's voice is not going to be what it was in 1983.
Yeah,
but and that's not really what he could sing in a lower register like he does.
Yeah,
and still have hooks. He doesn't have to hit the high notes to have a good hook. They just need to write a good hook.
One of the other things that I'm going to kind of put forward about it that I like too, which is, and there's a complaint that's been kind of common on the internet of basically all the reunion stuff. And some people, there's a lot of people who don't like Brave New World, which is probably not a surprise to you, which I love it too. In fact, we did our reunion records recently, and when we all chose it was one of all of ours. But a lot of people feel like they repeat their choruses a little bit too much these days, and like Matter of Life and Death is a great example. It opens with, do like a little kind of bass line, and then it takes off. You know what I mean? Like they all kind of start and end the same, that kind of thing. And that's fine with me. A lot of people have a problem with that. I felt like this one is this tight, compact. It's only like 4 minutes long. It might even be less than that. Just kind of in and out. And we talked. We talked yesterday via telephone, and this is what George hates about it and what I love about it, which is it kind of reminds me of a Deep Purple song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, which is not to say George hates Deep Purple. It's just he wants his Maiden to be his Maiden and that kind of thing.
Exactly. Keep your chocolate
George
out
said
of my
that
peanut
after you
butter.
hang up yesterday. George
Yeah.
I hate Deep Purple.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
But another thing, this is me personally, Jay. I like those, as a guy who loves live albums, and you hear it so well with Iron Maiden's live albums that they do. I love those booming, repeating choruses that a crowd of 70,000 down south is fucking singing. Like, the Run to the Hills, the Blood Brothers, and
we're on the same page on that. That's not a complaint I share with you at all.
This doesn't. I know it's only one song. And I know this is a double album.
But I will say this too. I do have one actual criticism of it because I like it, as noted. I've said several times. Obviously, I don't think it was produced that well. The sound is not magnificent, and I thought maybe it was like a pre-release. They don't want people, whatever. Which is, by the way,
it's the same guy that's produced all the albums since Brave New World.
And the same complaint has been around. And but I went and listened to the preview track on iTunes because you can get the whole song now, and it sounds the same there. So it wasn't just some pre-release. So that disappointed me a little. And actually, I do kind of like one step back and to kind of change the subject slightly, which is you had to like the video though.
Yes, I was thinking that too.
A bunch of video game stuff, yeah.
I loved it.
It was like the evolution from the early 8 bits all the way up through first-person shooters.
Yeah, it was cool. But still, it was an awesome video. But Maiden being the band they are, their videos have still come off recently a little
cheap.
Yeah. It's like you're a fucking Iron Maiden. Put some real money behind this. That's been a kind of post 2000 thing with them in general. I think everything from the production to honestly, none of the covers are that amazing.
Not since Derek Riggs.
Yeah, and he did do Brave New World, I believe, right? He did the cover of Accident of Birth too, the Bruce solo record, which is like a really cool cover too.
Right.
I won't say. I will say this. I will allow for this. It's not the greatest Maiden song I've ever heard, not by a long shot. But to me, as a lead into the new record, this is probably the biggest gap between us. It's given me hope, and I think it sapped some of your hope away. And I like it. I like it, man. It's good. I've listened to it a few times, actually. Did you guys give it one shot, and that was like goodbye, or did you think, well, maybe I'll take another spin?
I listened to it like 3 times.
Did you? Okay.
For me. Now you make it through the whole thing.
Yeah. Wow, really? Wow. Okay. You know what? I'm right. You're wrong. I think that's clear to everybody here. So,
well, by the time this podcast posts, the album will be out, and we will know. So we'll follow up on our next episode with the ultimate fate of the new Iron Maiden album.
And I can't wait to see what we think of it. I mean, the truth is everybody on this podcast believes that you like what you like and you don't like what you don't like, and that's all there is to it. So it's not really about the quality of the thing that we can totally hammer down.
I still have hope.
I expect this to be a pretty neat record. I'm looking forward to it, and I also will say this: it is kind of an experimental sound for them, or at least it's a little different than the usual norm. But I don't expect that the whole record will be like that. There's going to be some Maiden bangers on there, you know it.
Let's hope.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, undecided as far as the universal right and wrong goes, but interesting. You know what? Their releases at post 2000 always divide people. Always.
Yep.
Because I hated Dance of Death. I thought it was terrible. There was like almost nothing I liked on there.
Yep.
And probably the worst Maiden cover of all time.
Oh, that was horrible.
All right. Well, Bloodied and wearied from this death match, we move on into news. All right, so this first item, I almost passed it by, but I decided to click on it and take a look. Wasp is premiering a new song from their upcoming Golgotha album, and the song's called Last Runaway. And yeah.
I hated it, dude. I wouldn't listen to it only because, I mean, I didn't know about it, and you put it on the script. So I went and checked it out. Wow, it's like a Journey song. It's really bad.
It's like... it's funny because one of their later albums that I really liked is
Headless Children.
Headless Children, and it sounded like a much more commercial version of something from Headless Children.
You know, because that is, by the way, that is one of their later good records. I remember when that came out, I was like, whoa, these guys are kind of back on track here.
Yeah.
But no, I don't like it. I didn't like it at all.
It's too commercial. I mean, I will give Blackie just the merest hint of credit that it's a decently well-written and performed and recorded song. However, it does not fall within the boundaries of what I listen to anymore.
It's an 80s Journey song, and I kind of stared at my computer in non-belief. I mean, I don't hold out much hope for them anyway. To be honest with you, Headless Children was the last one I owned.
Me too. I do have Crimson Idol, which I know Buke is a fan of. I was never much of a fan of it. Headless Children was really it for me.
They are. It's interesting. We've never talked about them before, of the three of us in any case, and I'm glad that we are because, you know, I still to this day like that first record. God, I remember when it came out.
I love Wasp, and I really like The Last Command.
Yeah, agreed.
And then Inside the Electric Circus is a steaming pile of feces.
Yeah, that was when they took a left turn.
And then we came back to Headless Children,
which was great.
was pretty damn good.
You know, he's a good singer. I like the way he sings. He's a good writer. There's no question about that. But yeah, I agree. I don't know what he was going for in this, but not my cup of tea. Nope. And it's too bad because I wouldn't mind if they did something good. I'd buy it. You know, if they did something, yeah.
They were one of the bands that I never saw that I always wanted to see, but now I'm like, no, I couldn't go see them now.
Me either. There is a pretty good. I mean, it doesn't quite count, but there's a pretty good some concerts from the '80s on YouTube you can watch.
Right on.
One of them, which was like live in London, was an official VHS thing or something, and I watched it a couple times. It's funny that, and I did that like a few months ago because I'd never seen them either.
When I was in 8th grade, I had an albino long-haired hamster, and I named him after I like inherited him from a friend who wasn't taking care of him. You know, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want this. It was like, hey,
it'll die if I don't take it.
Yeah, it was a rescue, and so I named it after my two favorite people at the time, D. Snyder and Blackie Lawless. I called him D. Lawless, and he was the first, so he was D. Lawless 1.
Yeah, I was a huge fan, man. I was too. I really was, and I thought he was a cool dude and everything, and they didn't get as big as I thought they would, and all that. Yeah, it's too bad. Yeah. But anyway, don't waste your time on it out there. You know, there's nothing special about it.
No. So honestly, I think Motorhead is on its very last leg right now.
Yeah.
Apparently, recently, Motorhead was playing, and the band was playing Ace of Spades, and then they transitioned to the next song, which was Overkill. And apparently, Lemmy just kept singing the lyrics for Ace of Spades over Overkill.
Have you watched it?
I have not watched it.
You might, and I'll tell you a couple things. One is it's a very funny name for the video, which is Over Spades.
Over Spades.
And so that's cool. But also, it's worth watching just to kind of see that he just, you can see he didn't move very much because he kind of can't, you know, and you can see just watch it. He looks like an old man standing up there with a bass guitar that's a little confused about the world. So,
and he's just sort of on autopilot, and and his autopilot re-looped itself around and didn't move on.
Yeah, and he just looks a little not flustered, but you can just see he can't really. You should watch it. You should watch it. He just looks like a guy who's been through a lot. Let's put it that
sad.
way. It is
you
sad.
You guys see the recent news that Lemmy has switched from whiskey to vodka for health reasons?
A very wise choice.
Yeah, definitely better to go with the clear liquor than the dark liquor. And
he also says the orange juice, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know how many more live shows there's going to be. It actually happened at the whatever that big England thing is.
You know what I say? Good riddance.
Oh,
Have a little respect, even if you don't like the music. Nobody in the 80s, nobody could sport super short cutoff jean shorts like Lemmy.
Oh, man. Yeah, I've seen that. Have you seen a picture of those super short jean shorts? Mm-hmm. They're rough. Oh
yeah.
my God, they're rough.
But it's Lemmy, man.
Well, it's a sign of the times, man. I mean, he's not. Let's just say this. He doesn't seem to be looking any better. Every time we talk about this,
He's just a little worse.
yeah, the guy's losing weight at kind of a shocking rate. He doesn't look good. He doesn't look good.
So I was a little surprised to find out that apparently Immortal is going to continue without Abbott.
I would say it's more like.
And Abbott is doing something too.
Right.
Yeah,
so
he's already played live.
at least
Yeah.
he's not calling it Abbot's Immortal. You know?
And you know what? Okay, maybe it
Or
will.
Immortal AD or whatever.
Yeah.
Or BC. It may be that they will continue, but the truth is that Abbott will continue without them.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
it says they're already working on new material. It's going to be very interesting to see who they're going to get to sing the
Yeah.
songs. You
Well,
know,
I thought he was probably the primary writer, I assumed.
what's his name? The guy that used to be the guitar player, but he had to stop playing because of like tendonitis or something, and he just does the songwriting.
Oh, okay.
Him and the drummer are still carrying on, and I'm
Well,
like, will they
you know
get a
what?
big name? You know, so that it's like
That's a tough one.
intriguing, or will they just get somebody else that we've never heard of and just make a poor rendition of Immortal?
Well, I mean, in their little underground way, they're kind of Kiss now. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot that can be replaced there.
Yeah.
With respect, you know what I mean? I mean, what I mean is, it's difficult to replace them with respect. There's like this whole personality thing that happens in that band, even if it's just the memes you're into.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
like
I'm sorry to hear it, actually, because I like them. I like them together, and I'll be more likely to look for his new record than theirs. Let's put it that way.
yeah. I mean, okay. So who's left in Immortal? The drummer. Okay, whatever. Unless you're freaking Gene Hoglan or
Yeah,
you know,
right.
one of the, or Hellhammer or some sort of elite drummer. Not okay. I don't care.
Yeah, me too.
And who did the singing? Abbott. Who did the guitars? Abbott. Okay, so what's left for there to be in Immortal? It's going to be a completely new band.
It is, and I think there's a time when, you know, if it was me, I would hope I would be like, let's just wrap it up. You know what I mean? Like, this will just be a joke. Like, it's like, I'm not really with like Foreigner still tours. You know what I mean? But without the proper front man, the proper singer, what's the point? You know?
Yep.
I'll give Journey a pass because that guy sounds so much like him, and it actually kind of works. You know? Did you guys watch that movie about them?
No.
It's kind of worth watching. I'm not.
What's it called?
The biggest, I think it's actually called "Don't Stop Believing," and it's about how they found him in the Philippines because he was like in a Journey cover band, you know.
My
And
wife might like that. I'll have
It
to check
follows that
out.
journey. It was worth watching. I'm not a huge fan, but it was worth watching just to see this guy. I mean, this is the guy who was. Everybody in Philippines is poor, and he was very poor, and now he's, you know, guy's worth millions now, and it's kind of a cool story to watch. But
That sounds cool. I like documentaries.
yeah, it's worth your time. It's on Netflix, I think, if you get bored.
All right. So, do you guys remember the Metal Grasshopper video short series that Dave Hill did with Phil Anselmo?
Yep.
Where Dave
Haven't
Hill like stalks Phil Anselmo at his
Keep
home.
trying to like teach him to be metal.
Yeah, he's like, teach me to be metal. It was a really funny little series. In fact, I need to go and like catch the last few. I saw the first couple, and they're really funny because, you know, he's this pathetic little wannabe metal guy, and he just keeps annoying the shit out of Phil until Phil agrees to teach him the ways of metal, and then he just fucking, you know, abuses the guy and treats him like shit, and it's just kind of funny because it's metal and it's humor. Well, anyway, Dave Hill, the guy who came up with the idea for that and starred in it with Phil, apparently did a black metal street performance in New York City recently. He dressed up in corpse paint, went out on the street with a guitar and a teeny little amp, and just played ripping guitar lines and screeched And there's just a short little video about it on there, and it's kind of funny because, like, at the end, you see him like in a restaurant or a McDonald's or something, and he's just sitting. You see him through the glass, and he's just eating a cheeseburger, like kind of pathetic, like. And people are giving him a wide berth on the street. So,
Was it like Times Square or something, or is it like?
I couldn't tell where it was. I only knew it was New York because it said it was in New York.
Well, I haven't even seen the first thing, so I'm gonna go and watch that. That sounds awesome, the grasshopper thing.
Yeah,
but okay, cool. I'll check it out.
Metal grasshopper.
But I mean, I'll look forward to seeing this other one too. I'll be honest with you. I don't know who Dave Hale is. He a comedian or is he?
Yeah, I think he is. I hadn't heard of him before Metal Grasshopper. Okay. So unfortunately, Bruce Corbett of Rigor Mortis and currently of War Beast had to undergo heart surgery this past week. What's bugging me is that it's been almost a week.
I read it wrong. I thought he was trying to get money to have the surgery.
No, he had the surgery past Monday.
Okay.
This is just to defray the cost of the bills.
Okay. But it's almost a couple years to the date, right?
For Mike Scotcha?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
So what bothers me is that the surgery was almost like tomorrow will be a week, and I couldn't find anything on. Did he live?
How's it going? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess no news is good news. If he was dead, I'm sure they would have told us.
Yeah. I was sorry to hear that. I was sorry to hear the whole thing. And I read it wrong too, a little bit, Buke, but because I think at the very least when they posted the story, he hadn't had it yet, I think. But you know what I mean? But as George says, it's done past. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, man, that's, if nothing else, it casts a weird light on the fact that a lot of these guys are getting up there to that kind of age now. You know what I mean? I mean, we're just talking about Lemmy's health. That's one thing. But I mean, a lot of guys, a lot of the metal guys are 40 to 60 years old now,
Yeah. And so as we were sort of alluding to, there is a donation site. It's not a Kickstarter. I can't remember the name of the site. I'll look it up in a second. But it's basically a health donation site. And you can go. They're only
youcaring.com.
Thank you, Buke. And they're only trying to raise like $9,000.
Oh,
so
I thought it was, okay.
And I went and I donated some money and in the name of the Metalheads podcast for us,
and for a fucking special colored vinyl.
What's that?
And for a special artery clogged vinyl.
Oh, you're kidding. Because there's no incentive plans. It's just a donation.
I know. I was just trying to say you would do it for vinyl.
Right.
They were doing one of these. Oh, go ahead, George.
So, I put my money where my mouth is, doing our part to help get Bruce back where he belongs, fronting a metal band.
You set an example, George, and I'm going to follow you. After the app, I'll go over and do that. Because I was concerned when I heard that.
Right on.
They were doing something similar recently for Van Williams' wife was quite ill.
Really?
Yeah.
But she is cured now.
Really? Oh, good, because it sounded like dire to me. It was
I heard.
Okay, good. It was like stage 4 ovarian cancer or something. But in other medical news, the drummer from Tankard had a stroke.
Really? I didn't hear that.
Yep.
Yeah. Hospitalized. I felt like the details were vaguely sketchy. They were sort of waiting to see how serious it was or whatever, but
hard to be a drummer after a stroke.
I should think so.
Yeah. Well, we hope that he recovers soon.
Of course.
Our last news item is one that kind of pisses me off, but I'm sure Buke is over there grinning and chuckling to himself. Ghost is doing a short unplugged tour leading up to the release of their new album, Meliora. It pisses me off because they're going to be here the day after I leave for Seattle, so I'll miss them here.
Oh, dude.
And they're going to be in Seattle 4 days before I get there. So I miss them in both places, just barely.
I've lived that before. There's been shows I missed exactly that way. Well, it's like I think they're doing basically. I think they're free shows at record stores, aren't they? Isn't that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah. If you buy a copy of the new album, they'll sign it for you. And whatever.
Nice.
And Buke is going. That's why I said he was chuckling, because he's planning on going. And I'm hoping, I'm going to put it out here for everybody to know, so now you have to do it, that I'm hoping that he will pick me up a copy and get it signed for me. Please, please, please.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Oh. Did you?
And next time on the George and Jay podcast.
That's right.
I have to find out what to do with Bree. That's the only. My wife will be at a bridal shower.
If you don't even go, I'm going to kick your ass.
What's the record store?
Soundgarden.
Is that a sizable place? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, big enough.
Huge.
Well, we'll see. I mean, and you know what? They'll probably pay for 30 minutes. Would be my guess. Probably do that. Something like that. It'd be cool though, because I bet you they'll do something weird, like "Don't Fear the Reaper" or something. They're going to do some. They're going to do a weird cover.
Yeah.
That's going to be one of the cool parts.
Well, I hope you'll go to see it. Somebody's got to see it.
Yeah, I would. I just chewed up all my vacation, and they're down in they're down in southern Southern California. If they were coming to San Francisco, it'd be no problem. But
Yeah.
yeah, so interesting.
Yeah.
Can we go back to a quick tour? I just want to announce this. I'm probably going to be going to this Friday, September 11th. Ashes of Aries is playing in Baltimore.
Won't you be at the Napalm Death Show with me in Frederick?
I would rather go see Ashes of Aries.
Silence, a deadly silence fell over.
I'm just saying that because Ashes
Well,
of Aries
I hear you.
They're on the 5 city tour, and Matt was so cool to join us on the podcast.
Where
Maybe
is
we
it?
could meet him.
They're coming around Atlanta, Richmond, Baltimore, Philly, and New York.
Oh, Baltimore. So that's
Yeah,
Where
with
are they
Ghost-
playing again? Here?
Playing at the Angels Rock Bar
Oh, I don't know that.
with Ghost of War.
Don't know them. All right.
quandaries.
Indeed.
Yep.
To get
I was just pulled this up, just looking for. We were talking about Van's wife. Just go ahead.
All right, let's move on to new releases. The last couple of weeks have been a little sparse for new releases, but this time we have a whole shit ton of them for you. And this is actually spanning a couple weeks because we're not going to be around next week. I'll be in Seattle. So this is basically covering the next couple of weeks of just tons of new albums coming out. So going to try and move through this semi-quickly. The first one is Battlecross and their new album, Rise to Power.
and you had asked me previously, George, if I knew these, and I don't actually. I haven't heard these. I was thinking of Powerwolf, so honestly, I don't know these guys, but I know you guys have talked about them quite a bit. Is this the sort of like ever touring, never stops?
Yeah, Buke's been the one carrying the flag for these guys. I've listened to them before and been like, yeah, it's all right. But then when I saw them play recently with Crowbar, I was like, holy shit, these guys are really good. So I'm definitely backing this new album.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
And
really cool stuff.
I do believe we have the promo, so I'll be checking it out today.
Yep. And then, as we were just talking about, the new Ghost album, Meliora, will be out. I'm hoping I can... it comes out the 21st of August. I'm leaving for Seattle the 22nd, so I'm hoping I can get a copy of that to take with me on the plane.
Right on.
You guys, what's your guys' hope for this new album? From what we've heard, you think it's going to be that return to the first one?
It sure sounds like it.
I don't think it'll be a return, but I think it's going to be good. I mean, I think they've moved on a little bit. It's heavier than the first one, everything that they've played so far.
And I think the production's tighter than the first album. The first album had good songs that were reasonably well produced, but still a little raw.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
and the new songs, from what we've heard, they're much cleaner production, but they're more in the style, and more evolved sound from the first album, whereas the second album just went way off in a different direction.
Yeah.
It was just maybe, I don't know, almost too elaborate.
Yeah.
It almost could have been one of for our top 3 today. That's how much I just didn't like it. And we'll talk about our top 3 when we get to it. But I went into it. Yeah, I like everything I've heard. So I think it's going to be a good record.
Yeah, I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the new Hate Eternal album, Infernus. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm only a recent convert to Hate Eternal. In the past, they were maybe a little too brutal for me. The production was which is odd, Eric Rutan being the massively awesome producer he is. It's funny that I would say I wasn't into the production, but it was a little muddy for me in the past, like the really early albums. So, But everything I've heard from Infernus is pretty badass.
Not on my radar yet, so I'll put it on my radar. We'll check it out.
Yeah. I haven't gotten a promo for that, so it's pretty much going to be waiting for the release.
You were, Big, you kind of nodded your head. Is this something you're into?
No, I have always gone to the heavier shows. I always see people wearing their shirts.
Oh.
And when I have gone to listen to them, they're still, point and laugh at Buke. A little, that too heavy for me. That kind of comes off like a noise for me.
Well, I think George was kind of right there with you for a second. So, I mean, I'll check it out. That's you guys both give me proper warning. So I'll go see what I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think if you're a fan of Nile, which you are, I think Hate Eternal's right up your alley. It's sort of the same, like, it's not brutal, like, the real bloody, gory, brutal death metal, but it's pretty intense death metal.
Cool.
But I think the production's really good on the new album, so it just sounds good to me.
Awesome.
Next up is the second album from Lichgate called An Antidote for the Glass Pill. I have not actually, I just happened to see this on the list. I haven't heard anything about it yet. I don't know what it's like, but I did kind of like their first album.
That's a great title, by the way. That's a cool record title.
Yeah. So I'm going to be checking that out as soon as I can find a copy.
Cool.
Next up, we have Rivers of Nile and their album Monarchy.
That I listened to just the other day.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I mean, it's not amazing. It's definitely it kind of fits with Buke's previous description of Hate Eternal. Honestly, it's pretty heavy, man.
See, to me, it's heavy, but it's in that current, in my style that I like. It's that technical death metal.
Yeah, Buke requested this. He's like, hey, if we get the promo for Rivers of Nile, hook me up. And like 30 seconds later, I was like, okay, here you go. Because I hadn't downloaded it.
Here you go, here it is.
Beautiful. Yeah, I haven't even listened to the whole thing yet. But yeah, I mean, it sounds cool. And you're digging it, Buke. I'm taking it. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
I've only listened to a little bit, but so far I'm like, all right, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. There you go.
Next, we have The Sword and their new album, High Country.
Super pass. Pass all the way.
Yeah, pass. Next.
Dave, did you listen to the single?
Nope. Because I value you guys as my good friends. You guys didn't like it. So.
Hated it.
Yep. Moving on.
I liked Warp Riders.
Yeah, me too.
I think we're all in the same boat about that one. Gods of the Earth was pretty good too, but they've consistently kind of been going more towards radio friend. The new one is basically a ZZ Top record, from what I can tell.
This next one I haven't heard yet, and I'm really curious to hear what it sounds like. This is the new Wild Throne album, Harvest of Darkness.
Yeah, I'm interested, especially because there was a EP that came out after they have this release that's on Bandcamp, and then they have a new one called Bloodmaker that's really different from what was on, I think. And I
George,
kind of
I've seen this artwork. Do you have this?
Which one?
The Wild Throne?
I have. Yeah, I got one of their albums at Death Fest,
right?
Yeah,
I knew.
What did you pick up?
Bloodmaker.
That it's very different from that first one, George.
Is it really?
I think so. It's. I mean, okay, maybe very is an exaggeration, but it's quite different from that first album, which I know you also picked up on vinyl, because I remember when you posted the photo of it, which has got a super cool cover. So I'm interested to see what direction they're going in. And these guys seem to be growing or moving or something. I don't even know what. They're very talented guys.
The guy's voice is a little hard for me to get into.
Well, you should check out that first record, Buke. It's different on that one. Or maybe that's the one you're talking about.
No, this is the new one. I just saw a video for it today. Because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, isn't this who I asked the Mutoid Man guys? Aren't they on tour with them now?
Yeah, or they're about to be.
Yeah, they're about to be.
Yeah, I'm totally confused by these guys. Honestly, gotta be just if only for a scientific experiment, go and listen to that. It's just a snippet of the first one on Bandcamp. He sings completely different. When I heard Bloodmaker, I was like, "Wow, this is so different." So we'll see.
Yeah,
they seem like
can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, so there you go. See what it's like.
This next one I'm pretty excited about. In fact, I pre-ordered it on vinyl already. Maybe even with a T-shirt. I think I did with a T-shirt. This is Wolfheart from Finland and their second album, Shadow World. Last year, I think it was last year. No, 2013, they released their first album, Winterborn. And it was pretty awesome, sort of melodic death metal, black metal. The main guy for Wolfheart actually used to be in the band called Before the Dawn, who were a pretty cool melodic death metal band, also from Finland. And he just sort of changed directions, definitely went more black metal with Wolfheart. And I know my friend Josh just fucking lost his mind over that first album. So looking forward to hearing Shadow World.
Cool. You guys come around on this next one yet?
Yeah, that next
We
one.
talked about this.
That next one he's referring to is the new Ahab album, The Boats of Glen Carrig. And I have actually come around more to it. As I was mentioning before in the last podcast, when Jay was saying that he liked it and I was on the fence, I needed to put it on and focus on it with headphones and just sort of like kind of zone out with it because it's so mesmerizing in a way.
Yeah.
And so I did that a couple days ago, and I enjoyed it. I still want to do a comparison with the Giant to see what the differences are.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it is definitely a good album in its own.
There you go. And it's not a groundbreaker, but it's cool. It's cool. It's one I'll be listening to a few times. I'm not going to, it's not just going to die with me. So that's probably the best I can say about it right now.
I was talking to Buke, I think it was yesterday actually, that I was predicting that by like 2 more albums from now, there won't be any harsh vocals.
Ooh,
that they're just going to keep, because I mean, from where they started out to where they are now, their sound has changed so much. And I think, so much of this new album is clean guitars, clean vocals. There's still plenty of harsh vocals, but I think there's less than there was on the last album. Okay. And so I could see 2 albums from now, no harsh vocals.
We need to do a chart because there's a lot of bands that go that direction. We should do a 3 or 4 or 5 record chart that shows how it is you become respectable.
It's called the Opeth syndrome.
Mastodon has it too.
Yes.
I tell you, you cannot go from Funeral Doom to all clean vocals.
Unless that's the way you started. It's weird. I kind of like that stuff. I like what they're doing, though. I like, to me, the clean vocal parts and the way that even the tone of the guitar and stuff, it's a little different than like what a lot of people are kind of doing there in juxtaposition to the heavier parts. I like it. I don't. It's working for me. But these are all valid arguments, gentlemen. They are. Clearly these guys are walking down a path, and it's leaving their past behind them. So we'll see.
But they're evolving, and it's been a good evolution so far.
Yeah, and they're loud. Of
Can't
course.
knock them.
Can't knock them. Next on the list, I'm going to take this one. And Nile, What Should Not Be Unearthed. Definitely good record, great record. We were lucky to be graced with a promo, so I've had it for a while. So have the boys. And I got a vinyl copy coming. I like it. Yep. I will say this, if you're a Nile fan, you won't be disappointed. That's the best I can say.
Yeah. Next up is the new Pentagram album, Curious Volume.
There was a pre-release track or something. Did you listen to that, George?
I did, and thus far, that's the only thing I've heard from the new album. I thought it was all right. It was in line with, what I know of Pentagram.
Okay.
So I'll definitely check out the rest of the album.
Right on.
Next album is a band that, when I saw the video and I heard, not the video, but I heard the first single off of, we're talking about Amorphous, Under the Red Cloud. When the first track was released, finally, I was given hope. Because I've said it before, I am a huge fan of later Amorphous, Eclipse, Silent Waters, Skyforger being my favorite. And then, what was their album after that? Magic and Mayhem, the Tales from the Early Years, and the Beginning of Times, more importantly. The Beginning of Times was not good.
The End of Times.
What? You crazy? That was a great album. And you liked it. I remember you liked it.
No, sorry. I did like The Beginning of Times because I just pulled up the album artwork. Circle. I did not like.
Really? I really liked Circle, too, the last album. I was wondering why it was giving you hope. I'm like, their last few albums have been awesome.
The Beginning of Times, Skyforger, I fucking loved. Circle, maybe I'll go back and listen to it again.
I think you should.
Yeah.
All right. And the last new release really bears no more inspection. It is, of course, the Iron Maiden album, Book of Souls.
They have a new album coming out?
No.
Apparently, I think it's a repackaging of a reimagining of Iron Maiden in the mid to late 70s.
For them, it's...
I think Dave Weindorf is involved.
I was surprised it wasn't the new best of.
Yeah, well, they'll do that after Book of Souls comes out. They'll do a new live album followed by a new greatest hits collection.
Live album, live DVD, greatest hits collection. But it'll be the same greatest hits collection that comes out every year.
And then there'll be like a DVD series about Bruce flying fighter planes.
Before we move on to our top three and what we're listening to, can I make an observation that just hit me about the crowd yesterday? Because my head's been spinning and I was looking at the pictures from yesterday.
Sure.
The Death Fest crowd, George, was all true metalheads for the most part. Like diehard metalheads.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
The GWARBQ crowd.
Not so much.
It was more of a party atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see anybody running around that screamed poser at me.
No.
Or to me rather than at me. But it was a more diverse crowd because it's a more diverse group of bands.
I don't think I saw one vest.
I saw one when we were walking in.
You know, though, they're kind of a weird. You know that, but I mean, they're like a weird. There are people who go to see them for this almost performance art. There are a lot of people who don't like metal that probably like that band.
That's true. And
another strange thing, Jay, the GWAR was not the headliners.
Oh, that is weird.
Well,
I didn't realize.
They said they were. It's their fest, but the Descendants played last.
Yeah. Not sure what that was all about.
That is weird, dude. Especially because if it was going to be anybody, it might as well have been down. But I mean, weird.
Maybe because when Descendants were playing, the sun was starting to go down, and maybe GWAR wanted to be on while the light was still good so that people could see all the stage stuff. Because I don't think they had any lights set up.
Yeah. My gruesome shirt is now ruined.
It's used up.
Stained blood red.
Oh, is it? It actually looks kind of better now, dude.
Yeah, it's more gruesome.
That's pretty cool, dude. I like it. It reminds me of the cover of a Merciful Fate record that I'll have to send to you.
You can't wear that anymore, though.
No, you can't wear it, but it's
Sure
a
you could.
souvenir.
You could wear it to shows.
If I was a homeless bum on the street, no, I can wear it to another GWAR show again.
There you go.
Or any show. I mean, come on.
It's a souvenir.
Well, I have to say, yours isn't quite as appropriate as Will's. Will's almost looks like it's part of the shirt because his was like solid.
Yep.
All right, why don't we move on to our top 3 disappointments?
George, when you typed this in, I thought we had fucking done this before, pre-J.
I don't recall.
I bring a whole new level of disappointment to the show, dude. So we got to revisit it.
Top three disappointments. Matt, Will, Jay.
Which one was 3 and which one was 1? Or is it just like a tie?
The world will never know.
All right, I'm going to go first because I usually go first.
Yep.
And this one is pretty recent, and I think I'm kind of alone on these guys anyway. I think George might like them. But I thought that the last maybe 3 or 4, probably 4 Electric Wizard records were really interesting, and Electric Wizard were really interesting and good. The new one was so boring and lame and bad that I couldn't believe it. It was not a good record. And
record store day one?
Yeah, and to see it, to have seen, well, I mean, it was already out. It was just like there was a special pressing for Record Store Day. But honestly, man, I honestly couldn't make it through the whole record. That's how boring it was.
I've never been a huge Electric Wizard fan because production.
Fair enough.
Their albums are so raw, the vocals are so buried that I just get fed up with it. I'm a little more tolerant of it these days than I used to be, but I still haven't really gotten into them yet.
Well, I would say if there was a title you should check out, George, it's called Let Us Pray. That one is immaculate production compared to everything else.
Okay.
But And I wouldn't even try that hard to sell you on it anyway. But yeah, man, I just couldn't believe, like, for this band that was going around making, I thought, really interesting records, suddenly just took a left turn and just made one of the. It was my disappointment of this year. That record, it was just a waste of time.
Wow.
So yeah, number 3.
All right, Buke, you're number 3.
Thinking we did this before, I'm trying to remember in my head. If I mess them up and somebody says, "Oh, you said different ones last time," it's a fucking podcast.
Well,
I
hey,
remember
there's
doing
plenty
it.
of-
So
Plus,
plenty of-
I have 10 disappointments I could have put.
Yeah,
So
I could
yeah.
have put plenty of disappointments. I may have mentioned this last time. To a lot of the true fans of Dimmu, their Death Cult Armageddon album was not that liked because it brought in a lot of fans like myself into more of the symphonic sound. In 2001, they fucking were blowing up around that time. They were playing, but they had an Ozfest or Mayhem Fest appearance. They fucking had a tour, a headlining tour through the States. They're playing pretty big clubs. This was 03, Death Cult came out. And then In Sorte Diablo, whatever that one fucking is.
Boring.
It came out in 07. And then Abrahadabra in 2010. And both of those I thought they've been horrible.
Yeah.
George, correct me if I'm wrong, George likes them.
They
more or
couldn't-
less, the In Sorte Diabli, or Diablo, whatever it was, less so. I thought the Abrahadabra one was pretty good. For what it is, for being a symphonic, commercial, corporate black metal album.
Yeah, absolutely, and that goes without saying, because we all can go. There's a lot of stuff I sort of dislike in theory, but actually, like in actuality for a boring car ride. But yeah, no, I agree, man. I thought they kind of started just to get boring or something. There's nothing in sort of Diablo that catches my attention at all.
Is Dark Throne Triumphant your favorite, George, or Stormblast?
Enthroned Darkness.
Oh yeah, or Enshrined Darkness. Is it Enshrined Darkness?
Enthroned Darkness Triumphant.
Triumphant, yeah. The I like Stormblast. That is a good one. I like that a lot.
No Inglés.
Good trip.
but Enthroned has fucking Spellbound by the Devil, Morning Palace.
Yeah. And,
Where are they now, man?
What's the one? I can't remember the name. Something about Christian Soul, Tormentor of Christian Souls.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they kind of fallen off the face of the map. And I read it. There was actually a quote from the guitar player not long ago, and he was just like, "Let's do it already." I think there's some dissension in that band, and some of them have gotten lazy. So,
and some of them have side projects too that just sort of keep them occupied.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like
Chrome Division,
and I don't know that there's been an Old Man's Child album lately, but there's that as well.
Right on.
Which I'd like to see another one of those.
Yeah, me too. George, you're number 3.
My number 3. I could have picked a number of albums from this band over the last decade or so, but I went with Risk from Megadeth.
Oh, good choice.
That was just
not for me. I like this album.
Do you like Risk?
Man, like Breadline or whatever. Oh,
I think I like Trust.
No, yeah, yeah. That is a good. That's Cryptic Writings.
Oh, that's Cryptic Writings.
Yes, now that's like the last really
you're right.
good Megadeth album until United Abominations. I mean, what was the World Needs a Hero? It was another one that was really bad, and pretty much anything after United Abominations. But
which there's been like 2 or 3 of them now, and
you're right. Yeah, Risk is horrible. Yeah.
But Risk was the first one where I was just like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
It's like I think The World Needs a Hero came out before this, but it was still kind of Megadeth in style, just not very good. And then Risk was just like, "Hey, we're Megadeth. We do pop songs."
Yep.
And I was like, "Whatever."
Which it was kind of like around Load too. So you know what I mean? It was sort of like that was what was happening. It was a little rough there for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, number 2.
Number 2 is a disappointment in the sort of more positive regard. There wasn't a band released a record I was disappointed in, rather that they broke up. And it was that when Celtic Frost broke up for the second time, they were working on a new record to follow up Monotheist, which is really ranks in my top 5 of all time. And I was just really sad to see that kind of fell apart mid stride. And who knows how far they were going to go with it anyway. And Triptychon is a very, very good, a consolation prize. But I was just really sorry to see that happen. So I was hugely disappointed when I read that.
Right on. And by right on, I mean, damn it.
That's right.
Yes. Puke, number 2.
Oh, after hooking me with their first couple albums, when Children of Bodom released Blood Drunk in '08,
That's a good one.
that's
Ooh,
when
good, that
I started to come off the rails.
Let a lot of people down.
Yeah, after Hate Crew Death Roll, nothing was ever the same.
Because it was it was going up, Hey Cruel Death Row, and then Are You Dead Yet? Maybe, and then Blood Drunk, Relentless Reckless, and then Halo of Blood, and hopefully
The Halo of Blood's not too bad. I kind of like that one. Even Relentless was a step in the right direction. I think I Worship Chaos is pretty good.
yeah.
I
like
honestly-
Halo the other day.
I think they're back on the incline again.
It's likely to me that's going to be in my top 20 for the end of the year. I really think that's just
Yeah,
a
we're
tight.
all high on it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a tight, compact, well written. And I agree with you. Maybe it's an incline. Maybe there's more better coming, and I hope so. But I feel like they kind of hit the ball out of the park on this one, so I'm into it. Yeah, good. That's a good call, though. I bet you a lot of people would choose that. And that brings us to George's number 2.
My number 2 is a band killer for me. Up until this album, I was a big fan of this band, and from this album on, I have not listened to this band at all. This is Sepultura and Against, which is the first album minus Max Cavalera.
Good call.
That's a great call.
Good call.
Yeah, I mean, just no. Give me Max or give me something else.
Yeah, it was over.
All right, Jay, number 1.
All right, this is going to be kind of surprising to some people, possibly. I don't know. Maybe not so much to you guys, but I would just say I do have to give a little preamble. If you lived through it like George and I did, meaning you kind of followed these guys from the get-go, there's a reason that you might not like this record, and I didn't like it. And it's the best-selling metal record of all time. It's the Black Album. When that came out, I was just like super disappointed. I was just like, this is not the band. This is not the band. This is not what I like about these guys.
I was not that critical of it. I was sort of like, well, that's different.
Yeah.
But I was such a huge Metallica fan that, I mean, I gave it a couple listens and I loved it. And I still think it's a great album. I understand the problems people have with it and the more commercial Bob Rock production.
Is
But
this
I
Saint
still
Anger? I'm
think-
sorry, Steph was talking to me.
No, believe it or not, the Black Album.
Yeah, I've heard it so many times, so if I never hear it again, yeah.
I really like so many of the songs on there.
I still don't quite see what people kind of saw in Enter Sandman. I didn't think it was that great.
It's not. It's not.
But I really like songs like
Wherever I May Roam.
Wherever I May Roam. And when this album came out, I was practically
Unforgiven.
Unforgiven. I was practically a vagrant at that time.
So George was like, fucking, this is my anthem. I was like,
Yes, and Wherever I May Roam, it just struck a chord with me.
And you know what? And I will allow for that. What you guys have mentioned already is those are good songs. It's just, and I have to admit that part of it is that, and I am one of those people that really does consider Master of Puppets probably the greatest metal record of all time. I mean, how was where they started to go not going to be a disappointment? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's understandable.
And it really was. I thought Injustice for All was okay, but I think it was amazing. And then
I will say, the Black Album does have one killer fucking song. My Friend of Misery.
Yes, I love that song.
Fucking.
But I would
love
actually,
that song.
I would actually say Wherever I May Roam, just because that riff is so killer. But
Yeah. And you know, Of Wolf and Man, I love that. Through the Never, I love that. Don't Tread on Me, man. Every time somebody across the ocean blows something up or kills somebody, I'm like, I throw that song on and I'm fucking, let's go get those fuckers.
yeah, and that's all. Those are all valid points. But for me, when it came out, I was just like, it was like I felt let down. They were just like, before that, they were like these angry surfer-haired skater boy. I mean, like, Disposable Heroes. That song sounds like it's about to spill over into The Edge. You know what I mean? And it just, I have to say, that's just that extra production and stuff just didn't agree with me, and I was just let down. So
I think Injustice for All and the Black Album, since I was a young man when these came out, I think this sort of introduced me to the idea that bands evolve and change and you just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because back in, the 70s and 80s, bands kind of stuck with the sound. The Scorpions never really changed their sound all that much. Once they hit like Blackout era, they kind of found what they were good at and they ran with it.
Yeah.
And so now when, like Opeth changes, obviously they got to a point that I couldn't tolerate anymore. But when bands change, I think I got sort of, prepared for that by the fact that my favorite band at the time, Metallica, changed their sound every album.
And I am extremely open-minded about that and very forgiving. It doesn't require me to be forgiving. But this one just still fits in that category of, fine, it's cool that they did it. They made their own choices, and I like that they're evolving. They just evolved into a direction I wasn't really looking to follow, Mm-hmm. And I was let down because I just loved them before that. I was crazy about them.
Yeah.
So, Buke, number 1.
George almost took my thunder. I can't talk on this so much because I am a huge Opeth fan on Twitter.
I was wondering if that's where we were going.
After following up Ghost Reveries and Watershed, I thought Opeth was getting better and better with Deliverance, Damnation, while being all acoustic. The albums were getting better and better and better. And then I remember I was going to Yellowstone 4 years ago around this time. And George sent me a promo for it and said, here, go. Got new Opeth. And
ruined your trip.
just like when you see distant war and you hear the sounds of change coming.
Yeah.
And interviews and stuff at the time started to kind of give me the impression that the Opeth that I've loved was kind of dead.
And this was Heritage.
Right.
I'm actually surprised that anything Opeth would make it on your list over just about anything, just because you like them so much that there'd be something you hated even more than that.
I hate a ton of stuff. I just can't put my finger on anything else right now.
All right.
No, but also you were just disappointed.
I was just disappointed. That's all.
Yeah.
Should it be my number 1? I'm just disappointed.
Fair enough. All right. Well, my number 1 is Iron Maiden, The X Factor.
Oh, I wondered if somebody was going to go Blaze Era on this.
Yeah. After Fear of the Dark, which was, some people don't like it, but I think there's some pretty good songs on there.
Yeah.
Bruce does some good work.
George, may I just say, I think you and Jay have something different here. You guys were living these. Yeah. Again, this is another example where my disappointments, it's kind of hard to go back on albums that have already had a huge span of time.
Sure.
Because to me, I can just skip it and move on to the next.
Right. I was going to say, anybody going into the Iron Maiden discography at this point, they just know to skip over those albums, and it's no big deal. Yeah. But, having been an Iron Maiden fan up to the point that Bruce left, mm-hmm. and then going, oh, hey, a new Iron Maiden album. Oh, that guy from Wolfsbane, huh? Should be interesting. And then getting the X Factor, and you're just like, and I even saw them on that tour. And it was pathetic because every time I've seen Iron Maiden, it's been arena or outdoor, amphitheater. But on the X Factor tour, I saw them at Harpo's in Detroit, which is sort of a 9:30 club for around this area. And, it was just a teeny little place. And it sucked.
You know what? But you're right about the living through it big thing too, because it was like when Turbo came out. You were just sort of like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, let me talk about Priest. So, but it's the same thing for the Opeth.
Yeah, because to me, Opeth is you guys with the Black Album, or Opeth is you guys.
Yeah.
It's like my hype is just growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it happens, just like with Dimmu and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird.
You guys have already, like with Sepultura. Since they've already were dead and not dead and gone, but as a band they weren't the same before me. It's just I just know, hey, you just don't listen to that.
They never broke your heart.
Yeah, they were never there to break my heart.
Yeah,
right.
Like the cool, cold mistress that it can be.
Yeah,
the music
absolutely.
Industry.
Yeah,
indeed.
And fandom in general.
Can I give a collective number 1 for all of us? And can I say Catatonic Society? I'm sorry. Can we all agree? Because I know doing some research on this just to see if I missed anything. Jay, were you like George and I? Did you have any hope for Saint Anger when it came out? Because that's what everywhere on the web has as the number 1.
Right. I should, before you answer that, I should mention that we all agreed ahead of time that we would not mention Saint Anger or Lulu on our list because it's duh.
Yes, it's
It had. I will even say this: there's one or two good songs on there, in all truth, well written songs. No, there's one called "Dirty Window." That's a good song. That stated, no, I didn't expect it to be good, and I was pretty shocked by it. You know?
I had
say about
hope
our
when it
vinyl
came
addiction
out.
when George and I have it.
Hey, but you know, what I mean, it's sort of like having a piece of the Titanic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I liked Load. I like a bunch of songs on Load. Reload, I only liked The Memory Remains, I think is the only thing I liked on that one.
Yeah.
But
Actually, is King Nothing on that though? King Nothing.
No, King Nothing's on Load.
And what about Hero of the Day?
Also on Load.
Okay. Yeah, there are some good songs on that record.
Exactly. And so I considered Reload, it was just sort of a leftovers package. So I didn't consider Reload a real album. So going from Load into Saint Anger, I had hope, but that was quickly dashed when I put it into my CD player, got a couple songs in, and turned it off.
I had hope because S&M came out in 2003. S&M has two of my favorite Metallica songs on it, No Leaf Clover and Mine is Human. And then, remember, the first Mission Impossible song came out, and while it's more of a catchier song, it's not a real metal Metallica song, I Disappear came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
not bad.
Also has a cool video, by the way.
Yeah, very on top of that,
Yeah.
Grand Canyon or those cliffs or something.
Yeah.
And then Saint Anger comes out, and
And that was it. And it's almost startling, the direction they've gone. I mean, at this point, Lulu and that kind of God, that's bad. That is so bad.
I think the Unnamed Feeling is the only song off of Saint Anger that I like.
I can't even remember how it goes.
Not
I mean,
either.
yeah, nobody's listened to that record that much, but
Why don't we? I had an idea for something that I didn't really want to flush out into a top three based on all the interviews we did yesterday and the interview we did today. I wanted to know what everybody's holy grail interview is. You know, who is the band that if you could interview anybody, you would interview them and you would be like, all right, I'm done. That is the pinnacle of interviews for me.
I'll go first because it popped in my head as soon as you suggested it. And I don't want to steal your thunder, George, and I hope I don't. But honestly, I think he's one of the great artists in the metal world. I mentioned him too much, but Tom Gabriel Fisher. I'd love to interview him.
That is, that probably would have made a top three list for me, but it wasn't what jumped into my mind straight away, so I didn't go with it.
Cool.
Buke?
I have to first give a thank you, George. You have provided me with the opportunity to meet some of my favorite bands and allow me to conduct interviews like for this podcast when we interviewed Cam of 3 Inches of Blood, or when we did interview Michael years back.
Ackerfeld.
Ackerfeld from Opeth.
And when you got to meet Phil Anselmo yesterday.
I got to meet him. He was on
Phil.
something.
It was Phil.
Yeah, it was Phil. But my holy grail interview would be Phil. Two more to go along with Phil. One, because he got me into metal, and I think if you get him sober and clear head,
He's got some things to say, dude.
he's Phil Anselmo. He is the modern Bruce and Dio. No matter what you may say, George may say, "Oh, Buke was a little buzzed yesterday, going on about this and this about Phil." Like or what you want, American metal fans not on our level. What do they know metal as? Pantera.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'm sure they're the big
Actually,
90s band.
my number one is going to push that one right out of the way in terms of American metal fans knowing metal.
Now, number one, I'm sure you're going to say, I'm not going to say it, but the two more that I have, because he comes off like a very smart man, and we did meet him and shake his hand, Randy Bly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's a good choice.
And also because he is always flying the flag of music and has a lot of stories just from his podcast. I think Jamie Josta of Hatebreed would be a cool interview to do.
Definitely.
Cool.
All right. Well, my Holy Grail interview would be the mighty James Hetfield of Metallica.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
It's not beyond the realm of possibility. We could try.
I cannot. That was actually what steered me down this path, was the fact that I could not fathom interviewing James Hetfield. When we interviewed Ben from Goat Whore yesterday, and even more so when we interviewed Gwar, I think we were all. I mean, Ben, it went away fast, but with Gwar, it didn't really. We were a bit starstruck and like nervous, and I'm like, if that was James Hetfield across the table from me, I would get up and walk away and be like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
I would be so awkward trying to talk to him because it's just like my whole like teenage years for the rest of my life. My biggest idol from the time I was 13 on was James Hetfield. He was, I know James would hate to hear that and he would disagree with it. And maybe even if I was like knew him on a friendly basis, I wouldn't think this, but I think he's just like the epitome or the epitome, if you will, of cool.
God damn it. I'm trying for both of those. I'm gonna try for Phil and James. Damn it, I'm gonna try.
As cool
I would just piss myself and run away.
As Jamie Josta is, I think Jamie would come on in a second.
I could see us getting Jamie because he's so outgoing and has a podcast of his own that he would sort of feel probably at least a little bit of camaraderie with us just from a metal podcasting standpoint. Hetfield. I mean, I just can't imagine him taking time out of his day to talk to somebody so beneath the Metallica machine.
I agree.
And honestly, I mean, I would have to spend like a month
getting ready,
preparing and trying to figure out what I would say to him.
By a month of getting ready is popping Xanax for a month.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
George would be having a countdown on his phone. Oh, God. 3 hours, 4 minutes, 7 seconds.
Yeah,
oh God,
I would definitely be beside myself in nervous energy. And
I don't think that's impossible. Damn it, I don't. And it may just be because I live here, and I know that does not give us any kind of in whatsoever. It's just, I think the right way to go about it, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to work on both of these guys. Because the right way to do it, you get at them by just like, you find out a cause he's interested in or something. So you'd like to talk to him about it or something like that. Or whatever it is. Or his car.
False pretense. Good.
False pretense. Or his car. Or his cars. Or something, something that he might like to talk about. I just feel like this can be done. I am putting this on my list.
Oh, or you just wait till he's you wait till he's old and out of the scene, which nobody cares about him anymore, which will never happen.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I hear what you're saying, George. It's a pretty unrealistic goal, but still. And I think Phil wouldn't be that hard to get, dude.
It might be not
that. Not James hard.
Yeah, definitely not.
You want me to tell me Phil's not as big as James? No, I'm just joking.
I'm saying not as hard. Yeah. I think you know what I'm saying. Wink, wink.
All right, so what are we listening to, gents?
I got a few here that I'm sure you guys might not know all of these, but George, you might have said some of them in a recent list. I am listening to Dallas's record, Narcotic Wasteland. It's good. Demon Lung, A Dracula. Mm-hmm. If you don't have this, check it out. Another band, Sweat Lodge, Talismana.
Don't know them.
You know who they remind me of is Sog. Do you know Sog?
Yeah, I love them.
That first record, they remind me a lot of them.
Okay.
Two more, Blackfast, which I think, did you bring that up, George?
That was on my list last week.
Yeah, I like it. And then finally, there's a band from Whittier, California that I do kind of want to pimp. I don't know them. They don't know me. Just that I kind of ran into their stuff. They're a band called Skeletal Remains, Condemned to Misery. Super cool, old school death metal in the kind of like maybe leprosy era death type stuff. Really good, and like it'd be good for the gruesome fans. Let's put it that way. Really into these guys. So that's my list.
Excellent, Buke. What do you got?
This is where my current trends are going right now. It's a current melodic death metal band from Azerbaijan.
Wow.
This is a Bandcamp purchase. The band is Silence, Lies, Fear. And their album, Future, The Return. Again, Silence, Lies, Fear. Future, The Return. Melodic death metal from Azerbaijan. Fucking cool stuff, man. It's available on Bandcamp. Great production value with this. Awesome technical stuff. $12. on Bandcamp. Can't recommend these guys enough. It's also on the Spotify's and all that.
Right on.
Awesome.
I'll check it out.
Please check it out. I'm always trying to get you guys to buy stuff and check it out. I just want your guys' approval.
I'm going to check it out.
All right. So I've got a pair of albums that I've been listening to. And the first one, I have to even emphasize more than I would have. I actually wrote this down for Friday when we were going to try and do this. And after yesterday and seeing them play, I got to give them twice as much love. Troglodyte, Don't Go in the Woods.
Cool.
Yeah, we saw these guys play yesterday. We interviewed them. They were a great bunch of guys. And, I dug this before we saw them play, and meeting them and seeing them play live has only increased my respect for them. So this is a 2012 album. They've got a new album that they're working on, hoping to release by the end of the year. But check out their first two albums. I think you will enjoy them.
This is Bigfoot-themed death metal.
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Yep, that's what the topic is. It's awesome.
Yep.
All right, I'll check it.
And they all wear Bigfoot masks on stage.
And you thought they were great and everything. So, I mean, it's very cool. All right, I'm going to check it.
Yeah.
That was the first time you'd seen them, I take it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
My second album is, it's actually an EP. I don't know specifically where they're from, other than they are from the United States. But this is a melodic doom gothic band called Death White, and their EP, Solitary Martyr.
Nice name.
The vocals are clean, and the music is kind of heavy, not in like a death metal heavy, but in a heavy doom, but not slow in a doom way. My first impression was like Catatonia, but a little heavier. So
Cool, dude.
I haven't listened to it a lot, but it did.
Did you listen to their Ethereal EP, George, that came out last year?
Add that one to the list, Jay. It's ethereal.
Monotony, Ethereal.
Ethereal.
I'm going to band name.
Yep. I have not listened to their first EP yet. I hope to find that when I have some time. But and I need to listen to it more. It just sort of caught my attention and made me go, So,
I like ethereal stuff.
all right. What's our classic for this week?
I would kind of I seem to be getting a lot of middle of the road stuff, but what the hell? Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East. That's a great record.
Oh, going live.
Yeah, I dig that record. That was the one that kind of got me into them.
Okay. Buke, what do you got?
My classic is from American heavy metal band from Jay's area, okay? Fucking Machine Head, okay? Machine fucking Head. And this is their debut fucking album, Burn My Eyes.
Cause that damn
Interesting.
Time flies, 20 years, really?
Wow.
1994, June 1st.
That's why you were looking it up. Jesus.
It's funny that you went with Machine Head, because my classic is also Rob Flynn, but a little earlier than that.
Wow, I didn't even see your list.
Man.
Awesome.
This is Violence and Eternal Nightmare, also featuring Rob Flynn on guitar. I love that album. When that album came out, it blew my mind. It was just, I think it was like thrash metal with like, I don't know, it was just really fast. Like, in the 80s, everybody was always trying to get a little bit faster than everybody else. And the Eternal Nightmare album at the time was the fastest thing I'd heard.
According to him, they were all on speed back then.
Yeah. And it was like, blew my mind. And for a while after that, the fastest album I had ever heard was actually Wehrmacht and Shark Attack.
That was until Phil Demmel was on that also.
Yep.
That's right. I forgot about that. I've always thought about Rob, but I forgot about Phil.
They also, by the way, just announced a nice Evening with Machine Head tour. Not sure if there's a night in your area, but it's one of those things. No opening band. They just come out and play for a couple good long hours.
Yeah, I don't think they're coming around here.
Ah, shoot.
Yeah. All right. Vinyl acquisitions.
Long list. I'll read it fast. Perfect Circle, Mirdanams, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, Deep Purple, House of Blue Light, which is a follow-up to Perfect Strangers, a record I like, but I don't think anybody else really did.
I liked it.
Did you? It's a good record. Power Slave reissue, Defenders of the Faith original issue, Coda reissue, Orgasmachon reissue, Speak of the Devil original issue, Rainbow Straight Between the Eyes. I like that record. UFO Obsession, Van Halen Fair Warning, and believe it or not, White Snake Slide It In, but White Snake was good from Slide It In back.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then just a kind of a proto-punky metal Stooges I got on the LP.
Wow, that's a
Stooges
haul.
first. They were all a lot of bargain buys there, though, dude, George. I didn't spend a lot of money to get those, so
cool.
Good, it was good haul. Yeah, all in good shape.
Buke, what do you got?
Psy, a tribute to Venom. Venom at War with Satan. Children of Bodom, Halo of Blood. And I didn't mention that last week. I'm on the mouth with Amon Amarth. Let's fucking move on. With Odin on our side. And I forgot if I mentioned it too. Crypt Sermon Out of the Garden.
Sweet.
What was the Venom a reissue?
No.
At War with Satan, original issue. Nice.
I only have one this week, and it came in at the last minute. This was the vinyl release. Finally, after several months of the album being out, the vinyl release just came out for Faith No More's Soul Invictus.
Oh, good. Nice. Is that double vinyl or one record?
One record.
Yeah.
All right, deep tracks. Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Mine is off of Scorpion's Blackout, and there's a song on there called China White, which is like the heaviest, weirdest Scorpion songs you ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, China White. Good song.
All right, Buke.
I don't have one.
Really?
All right.
All right.
But this was just a busy week for me, so I apologize.
Right.
All right. Well,
I'm just being honest. I would rather save it than come up with something on the spot.
All right. Well, I have two songs from the same band, two different albums. Metal Church from their first album, the song Battalions,
Right on.
which I just fucking love that song. And every time I hear it, I get goosebumps. I get fired up. It's just a fucking badass song about vengeance. And the second Metal Church song is from their second album, The Dark. And this is one that most people never talk about it.
I think I know what it is. Go ahead.
All right, what is it?
Well, I don't know the name of it, but is it On the Run, Got at Your Back?
Yes,
That
Burial
song.
at Sea.
That's a great song,
I
dude.
fucking love that song, and I love the riff. The dun 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 dun.
That's a good
Weedle
record.
needle needle dun 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 dun. Weedle needle needle needle. Oh,
great
fucking
song.
killer song.
Not Watch
Yeah.
the Children Pray.
I like that song, but
That's
it was
a
a
good song,
single,
too, yeah.
so it's not a deep track.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a deep track. That's a great record. God, that's a good record.
Yeah, anything with the first two Metal Church albums are the best.
Duke is sort of. I hope that was you and not me having a stroke, because you sort of went left, right.
All right, well, we're about to close this one out. We're going to play you another song from Narcotic Wasteland. And before we do, though, make sure to check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. I'm Disciple of Metal.
I'm an Opeth fan.
At Catatonic J.
We're also on Instagram. We're on YouTube. And you can check us out on metalheadspodcast.com. Be sure to go on iTunes and give us a review. Give us some 5 stars, please. And let us know what you think.
Thanks for listening.
Yep. All right. And we're going to get into our little outro with Dallas from Nile and play you the last song. So we'll talk to you next time.
Okay, so we're back now with another song from Narcotic Wasteland to close out the show. What do you got picked out for us, Dallas?
Well, I was going to go with one, but now I think what I'm going to do is go with Absent Friends. The track, I think I mentioned before, it's very special to me. It hits home with a person that was very close to me that I lost due to an overdose. And the beginning is got kind of an unusual thing for metal. And I don't know if anybody ever picked this up or not. I've done it on a couple of little things on some Nile stuff, but the beginning guitar part, I'm using a slide. I'm playing slide guitar.
I don't mind telling you, Dallas, I did pick up on that.
Okay, cool.
I did, and I'm glad you chose that song because it does stand out as kind of a different thing. One thing, it's the closing track on the record, so it's a great way to close our pod today. But it's an emotional thing in the beginning, and then of course it comes up with some of that good Narcotic Wasteland anger and emotion. Fucking great choice, dude. Love it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, man. Yeah, so without further ado, here is Absent Friends from Narcotic Wasteland.